The lioness glides like liquid death through the grass, golden eyes locked on something small and trembling near the canyon's edge. Two more lions fan out, cutting off escape. This hunt has been rehearsed 1,000 times. The calf doesn't stand a chance, except it isn't alone. A baby hippo, no bigger than a park bench, stumbles backward as the lions advance. From below, its mother erupts into view, 3 tons of fury pounding the earth, jaws snapping with thunder. But the lions are patient, hungry, precise. They know she cannot cover every angle. The calf takes another step. The cliff crumbles. Then she acts. The mother lunges, ramming her calf clear as the ground disappears beneath them. For a heartbeat, both hang in the air, two shadows against the sky, before plunging 60 feet into the river below. In that instant, she becomes more than an animal. She becomes every mother who would fall so her child might fly. High above, wildlife rescuer Laura Whitman watches through binoculars. She tracked this herd for weeks, knowing the lions would push them towards the cliff. When the splash erupts, she knows she had one chance to turn sacrifice into survival. Love alone would be enough. It would take speed, courage, and a boat racing crocodiles. In moments where fate can turn either way, does courage come from sheer force or from the heart? Tell us what you think and subscribe for more journeys of survival and hope. Mara River Canyon looks like peace itself. The sun spilled molten orange across the cliffs, turning the water into a ribbon of fire. Dust motes floated in the golden air, drifting around a small herd of hippos grazing lazily along the bank. It was a scene that could have been printed on a postcard, timeless, untouched. Laura Whitman steadied her binoculars, the leather strap worn thin from years of fieldwork. In her weather journal, she scribbled quickly, "Herd of 12, one calf, approximately 6 months." Lowering the notebook, she glanced at her partner. James was setting up his tripod, the lens aimed towards the river bend. "They're closer to the drop-off today," she said. James shaded his eyes, frowning. "That little one keeps wandering." And he was right. While the adults swallowed or cropped grass methodically, the calf kept edging away, nose lifted, ears flicking at some invisible curiosity. Twice, its mother had called it back with a low grunt. Twice it obeyed, but each return was shorter than the last. "Classic teenager behavior," Laura murmured, yet her tone betrayed unease. The cliff was no ordinary hazard. 60 feet of brittle sandstone fell into churning water below, a graveyard for animals that strayed too close. Even in the dry season, whole sections sheared away without warning. The radio on James's belt crackled. "Base to river team, lion movement, 2 kilometers south, Bride of 4, heading north." Laura and James locked eyes. 4 lions, 1 calf, and a cliff. It was an equation written in blood. "Copy," Laura said, already reaching for the emergency kit, ropes, flares. The compact inflatable they carried more for protocol than expectation. The first roar shattered the afternoon silence like breaking glass. Laura flinched at the second, binoculars jerking against her face. For hours, the canyon had been nothing but insect hum and the distant purple of the river. Now, that fragile piece was torn apart by a sound that promised only blood. Below, the hippo herd reacted instantly. Heads snapped up, ears twitched, massive bodies stiffened in the tall grass. Hippos were built for water, for the slow graze of deep rivers where 3 tons of flesh turned weightless. Here, on brittle ground with a cliff at their backs, They were trapped. "They're panicking," Laura muttered, breath fogging her lenses. She adjusted quickly and zoomed in. "They're moving towards the edge." Her pulse was already hammering. The lions were no longer whispers. The dominant male blocked escape. Two lionesses flanked wide, and a scarred female crept forward, death in her amber eyes. Her focus never wavered. Her target, the calf. Especially not the calf. The calf pressed against its mother, ears flicking, tiny tail twitching. Instinct screamed danger. The mother lowered her massive head, jaws wide, a shield of power, promise, and fury between her baby and the predators. Laura's radio trembled in her hand. "Base, we need that emergency team now." "The Pride is engaging." "Repeat, lions are engaging the hippo herd at cliff position." Static hissed back. She tried again. Nothing. James slapped his own device, scowling. Canyon walls were blacked out. They were alone. Laura's stomach tightened. She hates this part of the job, watching with no way to stop it. She had seen too many tragedies unfold through glass. She lowered the binoculars for a moment just to breathe. Her hands shook as she wiped sweat from her upper lip. When she raised them again, her chest seized. The scarred lioness had half the distance, silent, patient, certain. The mother bellowed, a noise so deep it rattled Laura's ribs. It was the kind of sound that made the air itself tremble, as though even the earth recognized the weight of a mother's rage. But the lioness did not flinch. She had heard that sound before, and she knew the trick. The mother hippo thundered forward, jaws wide enough to splinter a crocodile skull. Dust exploded beneath her feet. It should have been enough to send the lioness scrambling, but as the mother surged, the two flanking lionesses moved. No, Laura's whisper was a prayer she knew nature didn't hear. The baby startled, bolting in blind terror, but not towards the river, not towards safety. It spun backward, hooves scrabbling, dirt crumbling beneath each panicked step, straight towards the cliff. No, no, no! Laura leaned forward so hard the strap bit into her neck. Every step the calf took sent stones skittering into the void. A whisper of inevitability. One mistake and gravity would claim it. The mother spun mid-charge, abandoning the scarred lioness. Her massive body turned with surprising speed, throwing her weight back towards the edge. She could see what her baby could not. That survival lay behind them, not ahead. But the pride had anticipated this. As she turned, the lioness breast, snapping, swiping, biting at her flanks. Not to kill, but to slow her, to pin her in place for one fatal second too long. Laura could barely breathe. She remembers another cough, years ago. A zebra foal cornered by hyenas. She had watched through glass then too, powerless as teeth closed around innocence. The memory clawed at her chest. Not again, please, not again. The calf stumbled, one hoof sinking deep into soft mud. The ground gave with a crack. "Laura!" James breathed. "It's going!" The baby's eyes were wide and confused as it scrambled for footing that wasn't there. The mother bellowed again. A cry so raw it blurred the line between rage and heartbreak. She shoved against the lioness, scattering them for a heartbeat. But that heartbeat wasn't enough. The calf took one final step backward, and the earth vanished beneath it. For one breathless instant, time itself seemed to falter. The baby hippo hung in space, legs kicking uselessly against the air, eyes reflecting the orange sun. It looked almost like it was running on nothing, running towards an impossible salvation. Laura's throat closed. It's falling. And then the mother moved. She didn't hesitate, she simply chose. With a surge of muscle, she launched herself off the cliff after her baby. Her massive body tucked into a grotesque parody of a dive, a creature not made for flight, leaping into the void. For a heartbeat, they hung together, child and protector, predator and prey, frozen in defiance of gravity. And then the mother's head rammed hard into her calf's side, not to harm, but to push, to give the baby one silver of advantage, one chance, one final act of love. They fell fast into the canyon and were lost in the dark shadows. The splash came seconds later, a gunshot echo bouncing between stone walls, and then silence, terrible, suffocating silence. Even the lions stopped, their bodies went still, golden eyes tracking the place where prey and protector had disappeared. For once, even they seemed uncertain, caught between instinct and awe. Laura's binoculars sagged. Her chest ached under the weight of what she'd seen. For a heartbeat, she thought of her own mother. Warnings ignored, near misses remembered. Love, she realized, was always a gamble with time. Laura, James began, but she was already running. The canyon floor was 60 feet below, water churning with hidden rocks and crocodiles. She didn't know what she could do. She only knew she had to try. Because if a mother hippo could leap for love, then so could she. Laura's boots skidded on gravel as she raced the canyon rim. James close behind with a thumping emergency kit. Below, 60 feet of air dropped into a churning river, hiding the lives it had swallowed. There, James shouted, his arms shooting forward. 30 yards downstream, a small gray shape broke the surface, gasping, thrashing, fighting. The calf. Laura's chest lurched with relief, but only for a heartbeat because the other shape, the one that mattered most, was nowhere to be seen. Her training surged off like a shield against panic. 5 years with African wildlife rescue had taught her the brutal lesson. Panic killed faster than predators. Think, act, save what can be saved. Get the boat ready, she barked, already ripping the coil of rope from her back. James dropped to his knees, struggling with the inflatable as rushing air hissed over the river's roar. Laura's eyes found a gnarled acacia, roots clinging to the cliff like a silent sentinel. Her fingers moved with muscle memory. Harness, carabiner, double check. There was no room for mistakes. She clipped in, exhaled once, and stepped backward over the cliff. The river surged towards her, closer with each controlled drop. 30 feet, 40. She could see the calf more clearly now. It was flagging, its kicks weak, its left side bloodied. A dark ribbon of crimson spiraled in the current. 50 feet, almost, but the water exploded. A massive head burst through the surface like a submarine breaking free, jaws wide, nostrils flaring, eyes burning. The mother. For one breathless moment, time suspended. She lifted her calf high above the waves, trumpeting a raw, defiant sound that reverberated through Laura's bones. Alive, bloodied, battered, claw marks gouging her thick hide, but magnificently, impossibly alive. Tears blurred Laura's vision, but she blinked them away. Relief was a luxury they couldn't afford. Because the mother was failing, her movements sluggish, her bulk dragged by the current towards a bend where white water waited like an open maw. And worse, the blood in the water had called other predators. Shapes stared beneath the surface, long, dark, patient. Crocodiles. Laura! James's voice cracked through the canyon air. She twisted her neck to see him shoving the boat towards the edge. "We've got company." The first crocodile surfaced downstream. A bull, 16 feet if an inch, jaws gaping in silent promise. The mother hippo swung her massive body between it and her calf, trumpeting again, but the effort cost her. She stumbled in the water, the current seizing her moment of weakness. And then another crocodile appeared, and another. Laura's boots hit the cliff's edge. The river seized her, cold and furious, tossing her before her vest held her up. She coughed, spat water, and focused. 30 feet away, the hippo struggled, the calf slipping, the mother battling current and predator. Above, the inflatable boat finally splashed into the river. James wrestled with the motor, swearing at it, slapping the casing until it sputtered to life with a choking roar. He jammed the radio to his mouth, barking coordinates, but static answered. They were still alone. Laura kicked against the current, each stroke a battle. She knew what the manual would say. Stay clear, don't enter between predator and prey. But manuals weren't written for moments like this, not for a mother who had already leaped from a cliff to save her child, not for a baby whose heartbeat was measured in dwindling seconds. She swam directly towards them, 3 tons of protective fury, multiple crocodiles, and the river's unrelenting drag. She had a rescue rope in her hand, a harness cinched tight, and courage stripped bare by desperation. "Come on, Mama," she whispered to the current. "Don't quit on me now." The mother hippo's eyes caught hers across the churn, dark and intelligent, ancient and new all at once. In them, Laura saw something she recognized, a mirror of her own vow, whatever it takes, whatever it costs. The crocodile bull edged closer, its body a shadow cutting through the murk. Another slid silently from beneath the bank, angling towards the calf. The water carried them all towards the bend where rapids thundered unseen but inevitable. James' boat spun in the current, too far, too slow. "I'm coming," he shouted, but Laura knew they did not have time to spare. She pushed harder, every muscle screaming, rope trailing like a lifeline between species. The mother hippo trumpeted again, weaker this time, but still defiant, still fighting. The crocodile bull surged. Laura's hand closed on the rope. The calf's bleeding flank brushed her fingertips. The current howled louder, and somewhere beneath it all, she heard the roar of the rapids, closer now. Not an end, not yet, but the razor's edge of survival. For the first time since this nightmare began, Laura felt it bloom inside her chest, hope, shining like a fragile flame against the darkness rushing in. But the crocodile's jaws were already opening. The inflatable hit the water with a hollow thud. James rolled like river was chasing him, arms straining, sweat and spray mingling. Around them, dark shapes moved, crocodiles, too many, too close. Waist deep in the current, Laura fought towards the hippos. 10 feet away, the river still pulled them towards the roaring rapids. Downstream, survival wasn't an option. For the calf, the mother, or her. "Rope!" she shouted, voice raw from the spray. James hurled a line, the coil arcing through the air. Laura missed the first grab, her fingers slipping on the soaked cord, but on the second try she clenched it tight. Her palms burned with rope burn, but she didn't let go. She couldn't. The water surged. Laura felt it before she saw it. A bull crocodile breaking the surface 30 feet away, ridgeback slicing the river as it began a slow, menacing roll. Not yet attacking, just warning. This was its ground, its rules, and trespass came at a price. Laura's chest tightened, but she looked past the predator to the hippos. The calf pressed against its mother, sides heaving, blood clouding the water near its flank. The mother swayed in the current, raked by the lion's claws, strength fading with each sluggish stroke. Her eyes flicked between the circling crocodiles and her exhausted calf, a creature caught between instinct and survival. "We're going to get you both out," Laura whispered, though the river nearly swallowed her words. She wasn't even sure if she meant it as a promise or as a prayer. James maneuvered the boat closer, slamming his paddle against the surface in spray of noise. Crocodiles thrived on surprise and stillness. Chaos and attention made them cautious. The splashes bought a few seconds, nothing more. Then Laura lifted a rescue harness, waterproof, webbing heavy in her hands. "I'm going for the cuff first," she shouted. "Then we'll—" But before she could finish, the mother hippo did something that froze her. The great animal lowered her head, nudged her calf with deliberate force, and pushed it towards the humans, towards the boat. For one surreal moment, the rescue stopped being one-sided. The mother was helping them. "She's cooperating." James breathed into his radio. "Base, are you copying this? The mother is— she's protecting us." Laura didn't have the luxury of awe. She surged forward, the current dragging at her legs, and wrestled the harness around the calf's barrel chest. The baby squirmed but didn't bolt, as if instinct told it these strange figures were allies. She cinched the strap and signaled to James. "Slow, steady, don't separate them too much." The boat began pulling the calf towards the shallows, inch by inch, but when Laura turned back to her mother, her stomach dropped. The great animal tried to follow, but her strokes were sloppy, her movements sluggish. The current was steering her downstream. The calf drifted one way, the mother another. If they didn't act, they'd save the baby only to watch its mother vanish. Laura's decision came without calculation, faster than fear. She then let go of the rope tethering her to the boat. "Laura!" James shouted, panic slicing through his voice. "What are you—" "She can't make it alone," Laura cried, already swimming hard against the current. She could hear the thunder of white water now, louder, closer. 2 minutes, maybe less, before the rapids consumed them all. The mother hippo seemed to sense her approach. Instead of thrashing, she stilled, letting the current carry her while conserving precious energy. Laura reached her just as the river erupted. A crocodile lunged from below, jaws opening in a flash of pale yellow teeth. Laura had no weapon, no plan, just raw terror. But the mother spun, faster than seemed possible for an injured creature. Her massive jaws clamped onto the crocodile's snout with a bone-crushing force that reverberated through the canyon. The water turned into chaos, splashing, rolling, churning, as predator and prey locked in primal war. Laura was dropped in the middle, her body buffeted by waves of violence. Every instinct screamed to get clear, but she stayed, clutching her rope, forcing herself to tread water inches from death. The crocodile thrashed, its tail lashing so close she felt the shockwave against her ribs. But the hippo held firm, a beast running on the last fumes of strength, refusing to release her grip. "Laura!" James' voices again, this time ragged with fear and something else. "Hope. Look!" Around the bend, the cavalry arrived. A larger rescue boat roared into view. 3 rangers crouched inside with equipment bristling like an arsenal. net guns, emergency harnesses, medical kits, but most importantly, noise. The lead ranger fired a signal flare, a streak of red fire hissing across the water before bursting in a spray of sparks. Another let loose a wailing siren that shattered the canyon's quiet. The crocodiles faltered. Apex predators or not, survival came first. Lights, sounds, and chaos forced them under, wedgebacks disappearing into the muddy current. The mother hippo released her grip on the injured crocodile, floating, sides heaving, blood faintly blooming. Her calf's cried echo from the shallows, but her eyes dulled. Strong hands pulled Laura towards the rescue boat. Another ranger cinched a massive harness around the mother. "We've got her," the lead ranger barked into the radio. Both of them, bringing them in now. The mother allowed herself to be guided, the fight finally draining out of her. Her massive head lolled, eyes slipping closed. Laura clambered into the boat, lungs burning, arms trembling with exhaustion. She collapsed to her knees, gaze locked on the mother hippo's great form being dragged towards the muddy bank where the calf waited. The baby strained against its ropes, grunting, pressing its small body towards its mother. "Easy," James murmured, his voice breaking as he steadied the line. "We've got you." But Laura's relief curled into dread. She knew the signs: shallow, erratic breath, the dull glaze over the eyes, the faint tremors of a body running on fumes. The mother hippo had given everything. She might not have anything left. As the boat scraped onto the bank, the calf pressed its snout against its mother's flank, low grunts vibrating like a heartbeat. Laura bit her lip so hard she tasted blood. This was the moment, the fragile knife edge, where stories could tip into triumph or tragedy. Some rescuers ended with survival, others ended with sacrifice. Laura's chest rose and fell in uneven breaths, her pulse louder than the river's roar. She had no idea which story this would be. But she knew one thing: she wasn't going to stop fighting until the very last breath was gone. Dawn crept into the Mara River Canyon. The sky bruised purple and gold. Laura sat on the damp riverbank, body aching, mind taut with fatigue. She hadn't slept, none had. Two fragile lives demanded constant vigil. The calf was easier, young, resilient, scratched but alert. It pressed against the canvas tent walls, grunting a single endless question: "Where's my mother?" The mother had been in a battle. For hours she lay motionless in the shallows, sides rising so faintly that Laura had sometimes placed her hand against the thick hide to confirm breath was still there. The vet had done everything: antibiotics, fluids, pain relief, but survival now hinged on something no medicine could provide: will, strength, a reason to hold on. At 6:47 a.m. it came. A deep, rumbling grunt rolled through the canyon, so raw and earthy it seemed the ground itself was speaking. Laura jerked her head up from her coffee. The mother hippo was lifting her head, slowly, laboriously, but rising. The calf squealed in response, a burst of high-pitched joy so pure it shattered tonight's dread. In one staggering step, it pressed against its mother's flank, and the mother bent her scarred head down, nuzzling her calf with a tenderness that nearly undid Laura. Tears, hot and unstoppable, blurred her vision. "They're going to make it," James whispered at her side. She only nodded, words caught in her throat. Dr. Dawson emerged from the tent, clipboard in hand, for once smiling, vital signs stabilizing, calves strong. "If this holds, we can transport them back to the herd this afternoon." Across the river, the herd that had been waiting since dusk, all night, their low calls had carried over the water, mournful, questioning. Now they rumbled again, louder, hopeful. Are they coming home? The lions? James asked. Gone, Dawson said. Moved on. After what happened, I think even they knew they'd seen something beyond instinct. Laura crouched by the mother, close enough to meet those ancient dark eyes. For a long steady moment, they simply regarded one another. Then the hippo leaned forward, nudging Laura's shoulder with her massive head. Not forceful, not threatening, a gesture unmistakable. Thank you. Laura's throat tightened. In 5 years of rescues, she had witnessed extraordinary moments of survival, but nothing like this. Nothing that so clearly bridged the divide between human and wild. By late morning, the boats were ready, harnesses secure, medical gear packed. The mother and calf were lifted into the shallow draft vessel. Laura's eyes drifted to the cliff where it began, the jagged scar of collapsed earth, stark against the canyon wall, the river below already erasing that last night's terror. But for Laura, that place was forever changed. She thought of what she had believed courage was, the act of pushing through fear, of facing danger head on. But the mother hippo had shown her something else. Courage wasn't the absence of fear, it was the decision to love anyway. When survival meant turning and fleeing, the mother had leaped instead, straight into the abyss, because her calf needed her. That wasn't instinct alone, that was a choice. As boats entered the current, the herd across the bank stirred. Low rumbles swelled into timeless welcome home chorus. Just before the bend hit them, the injured mother let out a final sound. A low vibrating rumble Laura felt in her chest more than her ears. Contentment, reassurance, a mother telling her child the nightmare was over, that they were safe now. Laura closed her eyes and let the sound wash over her. Some rescues end with loss. This one ended with love. And she knew she'd carry the lesson with her always. That when the world breaks beneath our feet, sometimes the only thing between us and the abyss is someone who loves us enough to jump first. The Mara River flowed on, ancient and unyielding. But Laura would never look at it the same again, because she'd seen what courage really meant. Everyday heroes are all around us,